Let's make mangosteen mead. What are mangosteens?
They're fruit.
It's a tropical fruit, I think.
It's the queen of fruit.
Yeah, we tried looking it up. There's info out there. It's interesting.
Yeah. They're naturally sweet and majestically aromatic. Now, these happen to be freeze-dried, and these were gifted to us
by John Pickering.
By John Pickering, who is the mad scientist of random, here, try this fruit guy.
Yes. He sent us some weird stuff, and it's usually worked out really, really well.
So if you've noticed, these two cans have been sitting on the shelf of mystery back there for quite some time during many of our previous videos, and that's because I didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah, we weren't sure what to make of it yet.
So finally, I gave up, and I turned to my old trusty friend, Google.
She Googled food.
And I said, Google, what the heck do I do with these mangosteens? And it actually gave quite a lengthy list of variations and options. But one of them that I liked was you put the lime in the mangosteen and drink it all up. I don't know. I'm just being silly. So lime was a good thing to pair with mangosteen, and we really enjoy adding the zest of citrus to our meads, so that's where we're going.
Okay. Before we start, though, you want to hydrate your yeast. Now, this is an optional step, but we find that it's actually beneficial. And you see how little bit of water I put in here. This is my self-stirring cup. It's from a Magic Bullet. It's fine. You can use whatever cup you want, but I just put, a few tablespoons in there. And then I'm going to add a quarter teaspoon of Go Firm. Now, this is like Flintstones vitamins for your yeast. Totally optional if you don't want to use it. Things will still work probably just fine. I say probably because we have an ongoing test that's showing a slight difference from that, but we won't know until it's completely done.
Yep.
However, right on the package, it even says that it probably won't break up fully, but I'm that kind of guy. I have to push the envelope. So see, I break it up.
Ta-da!
And then we're going to add in our yeast. And our yeast of choice today is Lalvin 71B, also known as the Beast. Now, we call it the Beast because it just works so well in our environment. This is why I like to use it when we're making something that we're just not sure what's going to happen. Like in this, we're not sure. But it's also really good for fruity flavors, and it requires less nutrient extras than most other yeasts. And that is a benefit. That also might be why we like it so much, and we've used it more often because it needs less of the extra stuff.
Now, the base for this mead is going to be honey because this is a mead first. Mangosteen comes later. And honey in general doesn't really have all the things that a growing yeast needs to be fruitful and multiply. So that's why we really enjoy using the additions that we'll be adding to this brew.
By the way, I used half a packet. People always ask, how come you always have half a packet lying around? It's because I use half a packet when I make stuff. Now, someone asked just recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, or today, they asked why we don't just put this all right in, and is putting the yeast in with that nutrient going to hurt the yeast? Now, I see where they're going. If we had put Fermaid O or Fermaid K, especially, in here with the yeast, yes, they are absolutely right. However, Go Firm is made for this purpose. It's for hydration. I don't know the technical difference as to why it's a yeast hydrator versus a yeast nutrient, but this is what they're marketed for, what they're made for. So if you just threw the Go Firm right in there, I don't think it's as effective as if you put it right in here right now.
Another reason why we prehydrate our yeast is because we're in Florida and it gets really hot, and the Amazon trucks that deliver our yeast are not air conditioned.
Right.
So sometimes, particularly if we order our yeast in the summertime, it gets too hot and we might have yeast dead on arrival.
Yep.
And this is a proof of concept of life to make sure that those yeasty beasties are good to go.
Exactly. But as we said, this is a mead, so that means we need some honey. And for that, we're going to be using Golden Harvest mead, which we get from North Mountain Supply. We'll have a link to this in the description. They sell it in a couple different sizes now, right?
Yep.
It is an unfiltered honey, and it does actually say right in it that it contains some natural pollen, which we found in a couple of different brews that we made, that pollen actually kind of works as a decent yeast nutrient. So that's kind of a cool thing. I'm going to use 2.5 pounds of honey today. All right, so now that we have our honey, we're going to add some water. And Let's just go about halfway with the water. This is a 5-liter bucket, and we're using a 5-liter bucket on purpose because having that extra space at the top, this is only gonna be a 1-gallon batch, means that it might not overflow and make a mess all over the place. Okay, I wanna mix this up a little bit, and for that, I need an implement of mixation. Right in the ear, wow. So, on that note, everything that we're using has been sanitized in.
The red bucket of sanitization!
Which is literally a 15-gallon or so red bucket off to the side with Star San, which is our sanitizer of choice, mixed with water to the manufacturer's suggestion. And because everything was sanitized in there, she just flicked me in the ear with sanitizer fluid, but it's okay.
It was unintentional.
Yeah, she didn't do it on purpose. Anyway, what we're going to use to mix this is the spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. Get yours on Amazon. We have links in the description. I named it, I'm proud of it, and it works really, really well. It's just actually a great little device.
So we had a bit of a miscommunication, and I had intended on adding the mangosteens in secondary. Brian apparently had intended on adding them in primary, so I'm going to suggest now that we compromise and put one container in primary and then add the second container in secondary.
Okay, since you're going there, why?
Because in my research of dealing with freeze-dried fruit in particular and adding them to brews, all the articles suggested adding them in secondary.
Oh, this is information I didn't have.
I conveyed that information to you, but apparently I was speaking Derica,
Probably.
which...
When she says that, what she means is she probably didn't say those words at all, but in her head thought she was saying that. And I didn't get it.
I am
at
very
all.
obtuse. It's just the way of the Derica, and it causes problems sometimes, particularly in communication.
Okay, well, with this new information, I would like to alter my previous statement. We ain't putting no mangosteens in today.
Back to the shelf with you!
Which also means I need to adjust my notes. I had the mangosteens going in today. We are, however, going to put in the lime essence. And by lime essence, I mean I'm just going to zest it in. So if you want to continue mixing, I'll start zesting.
I want to mix,
Okay, you go ahead and mix.
because I don't want to zest.
Yeah, zesting is just not fun. Now, we cleaned it. We scrubbed it. We actually dipped it in
did?
Star San too, just cause. Is it really necessary? Probably not, just as long as you're clean. But I do want to zest this, which is really just getting the outside of the skin. And this zester is dangerous. This is why I don't use it all the time.
Yeah, you want the glove?
Nope, I'm good. I got it.
So we're using a zester rather than a peeler because zesting is a finer substance, so it has more surface area.
More of the essential oils.
Ooh, it's limey.
Oh yeah. We bought 2 limes to do this. We were going to use our own limes, but it's not the season.
Also, our limes are limes plus.
They're Rangpur limes.
They're
They're different.
and not everybody can get those.
Yep.
So we figured we'll just
These
do
are
a
just-
generic old lime.
Just your basic lime. Which gives a surprising amount of zest.
It does.
So this is going to be very limey, especially since there's nothing else in it right now, because as we learned, mangosteens, because they're freeze-dried, are going to be better put in conditioning. Hey, you learned it? I'm impressed. I didn't know that. This is why there's 2 of us. I am, however, going to reserve this lime because we may be adding it later on. I don't know yet. We're going to be just as surprised as you.
And by reserving it, we're going to put it in one of our freezer bags and put it in the freezer so that way nothing untoward happens to our lime.
But
Because it's naked.
I gotta wash my hands. I'll be right back.
All right, do you want more water in there now?
Yes,
How much?
all the water.
All the water.
We had about 106 ounces of water to start with. Because I used 2.5 pounds of honey, that should be about right. Honey is about 11 ounces per pound. So yeah, this has a 1 gallon mark on it, right? Yep, this bucket does. We are just below the 4 liter mark, which a gallon is 3.785 liters, which means we're about there. So see, it works out.
Yay.
And I just want to make sure this is completely mixed through. At this point, though, we can add our yeast nutrient, which is Fermaid O. If you're using something other than Fermaid O, make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions. on this, it says add a 1/4 teaspoon at the beginning and a 1/4 teaspoon after 1/3 of sugar depletion. I'm not going to go there. We just do what's called front loading because, well, we're lazy and we haven't seen enough difference to warrant that kind of minutia. How's that for a word?
That's a nice word.
So I'm just going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of this right now. I've always front loaded Fermento. But again, if you're using something else, make sure you use their instructions, not mine.
The reason why we're stressing that is because there is not really a hazard of having an off flavor by adding too much ferment O, but there can be
With
an
ferment
issue
K especially,
with,
or DAP. Yeah. And you just don't want to use too much of those anyway.
It's got chunks.
Yeah, it's chunky. And Fermento does that.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's going to break up on its own. I'm not, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
But now I also want to add in.
Do we want to do a pH reading?
We can do a pH reading. I have thoughts about pH.
We do. We did a test on pH where we thought there's no way in heck this is going to ferment. And guess what? It did just fine.
Yep.
So our preconceived notions and the research that we had about pH didn't prove to be exactly true in that particular case. Now, that was a wine. That wasn't a mead. So there might be differences.
We'll take a pH reading, just because. pH readings. To me, it's kind of a nice extra, but I don't see it as the absolute necessity anymore. So I just want to be clear on that.
And like I hinted briefly initially, I think it's really dependent on what you're making.
And something else that came up is we had talked about having it too high, like past 4.6, you have a potential for botulism spores. Now, they have to be in there, first of all. And something that I didn't even consider, but it's kind of common sense now, is that it's an acidifying process, fermentation that is. So as it creates alcohol, which alcohol kills the spores too, and goes below 4.6, they can't survive. So it kind of fixes itself. Now, if you're stupid high pH, which we're only kind of stupid high pH, we're probably in the 4.5-ish range. That looks like 4.5 to me, almost spot on. If you're like at 6 or 7, yeah, you might want to acidify just a little bit for the health of the yeast, because they tend to like between 4 and 5.5 as a general range. And yes, I know I always said 4, but I'm going to widen that because it just doesn't matter.
Well, the yeast actually don't mind the number being higher.
Right. They don't like it being a lot lower.
Right.
So the only time that I'm really going to want to change the pH at all is if
it's too acidic.
And that's only to start with. At the end, we only change acidity for flavor. Okay?
Right. And this is something that we've seen in the comments where people, after fermentation is all done, they change the acidity.
Yeah, it was like 3.2 or 3.0.
To get it back into that 4 range.
You don't want to do that.
You're doing a disservice because the more acidic it is at the end, the more stable your brew is going to be.
Exactly. That helps with preservation. So our yeast had some bubbles. I stirred it up before showing you, I'm sorry. But it had some bubbles going. It's good. I'm going to pitch that in since we know that this is totally safe for the yeast. So that's the other thing. If it was way too acidic, it could kill the yeast right away. So you want to be very careful. That's another reason to use Zest versus the whole fruit, because lime is quite acidic. So that would harm the process. But now, what's left?
It's time for a gravity reading.
Yeah, just to kind of know where we start. It should be somewhere around like 1.090-ish, which if it's in there, I'm pretty happy with that. It's a good solid range to start with. It smells like lime, so we might not need to add more lime to this at the end. But we won't know until we get there. 1.090, just like I thought. See, I did measure the water right. She had questioned whether I measured the water right. I did. And I'm just going to pour this right back in because everything was clean. It's all good.
Now we just need a lid and airlock.
Yes, we do.
Here is your lid.
Remember, make sure it snaps or your seal is crap, but we still need an airlock.
Yeah. But we found with the buckets, if you put the lid on first and then add the airlock, it'll be a lot easier and less messy.
Yep. Now this is a 2-piece airlock.
So I've removed the lid because if you keep the lid on when you're putting it on, it'll
Yep. And then you just put the 2-piece part back on. If you're using an S-type airlock or something like that, you're totally fine. Just put it in and you'll be good. But these 2-piecers, we found that you really want to, see, I already got it bubbling.
It's pushing it right out.
Pushed right out. Can we dry this? What the heck?
It's lubricated for her pleasure.
Oh boy. And we just became that kind of show. Hopefully we don't get demonetized now.
All right, where do you want to put your label? Your notes?
On the lid. Right there is fine.
Is it?
I don't have tape yet.
All right.
There is something else I want to talk to you guys about, and that has to do with the readings on your hydrometer. It's been asked many times how to calculate ABV using your hydrometer. And there's a lot of different ways. People ask, do you have to use specific gravity? And the answer is actually, no, you don't. But it doesn't work the way you think. So I'm going to do a real quick little demonstration here just to show you something. So if you look at this, I have the Zester set at about the 1.090 mark. Now, if I was to turn this way, see how it's going to potential alcohol? And it's somewhere between 10 and 15, which to me looks like right on 12, right? From 1.090, right on 12. So that way I know I have 12% potential alcohol. Now, as we take readings as time goes on, let's say we drop down to 1.000. If I turn it there, now it's going to say 0% alcohol. Now, that doesn't mean you have no alcohol in there. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make. They take just that second reading and they go, this has 0 alcohol. What the heck is going on? I can taste alcohol.
The key word there is potential.
Exactly. You started with 15% potential, and at the end, it has 0% potential because there's no more sugars left. But an easy way to do this, you can do 2 ways. The regular formula where we take the starting gravity minus the final gravity and multiply by 131.25, or an even simpler way. Started at 15, ended at 0. 15 minus 0 is 15% alcohol.
That's the potential alcohol readings versus the specific gravity readings.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if you want to use specific gravity, you have to use specific gravity. If you want to use the alcohol readings, you have to use the alcohol readings. But in this case, the way I just described it, I said 15, but it should have been 12. You started at 12, ended at 0. 12 minus 0 is 12. If it ended at anything higher than 0, you just subtract those 2 numbers. That's it. It could be super, super simple. If that didn't make sense, let me know, and I'll actually make a video just about that. That way we can clear it all up. But for now, I'm going to use my fancy schmancy labeling system, which consists of a piece of paper cut into 3 and usually not enough masking tape. I'm frugal. What can I say? Just stick that on there. That's our labeling system.
So what are you going to do now, Bri?
It's going to sit probably in the ferment station for a couple of weeks. And when we see very little to no activity, we'll be back to show you the next step. Okay, so this has been going for 3 weeks now, and it's time to take a check. Let's pull the airlock out.
All right. We're going to pull this airlock out, but it has done its job.
It's loaded with fruit flies.
There are like 4 of them in there. So I'm going to ask Brian to actually take this to the sink before we open that up.
Okay.
And dump it out. And so I'm going to refill this to the appropriate filling line. There's a little indicator right there, midway point, with our properly diluted star sand solution. So that way we can put it back on there when it's time to seal it back up.
And I'm going to take the lid off and look inside. And so far, it looks like mead. So looking inside, like I said, looks like a mead. We have not done a check on this yet. So, it's been 3 weeks. It's time for a check just to see, is everything okay? There's no eyeballs, there's no mold, there's no nothing in here to worry about. So while I was looking in there, I was curious because I saw a couple things floating. Lime zest. I forgot we put lime zest. All right. So what are we going to do next?
We're going to take a reading.
All right. We stack videos, meaning we do like parts of a bunch of videos in the same day.
Just taking that reading got some of the aromas into the air, and it smells lovely. It smells like a lime mead.
Mm-hmm. It's limey. It may not be completely done, but I think it's done enough to move forward.
So the question for you is, do you want to rack it?
No.
Or we don't really need to because we're putting more solids in there.
It's at 1.004. Now, using the calculator teacher said I would never have handy, that was literally just right there. I'm going to do a rough calculation of our ABV because I know we used 71B for this. So 1.090 minus 1.004 times 131.25 gives us about 11.25%, which is low for 71B. Now, here's the thing. I am not overly concerned if the next step ferments too. So that's why her question of, do we want to rack it first? If we rack it first, We're removing the yeast colony, possibly most of it, if not all of it, but possibly leaving just enough that it restarts a colony and could possibly stress. So unless we're going to pasteurize and then move forward, we want to just leave everything in there. Let it do its thing. I don't know if this is still fermenting or not because we only have one reading. So all we know is right now it's at 1.004, but it might not be done yet. It could still be going.
And this is something that happens when we change from our normal parameters. People tend to kind of freak out and say, why'd you do that? Well, the basic answer across the board is because that's what we felt was right at the time.
Right.
There is no one answer to all scenarios.
And this is something that, as she said, we get asked a lot. Why didn't you do this? Or why did you do this? In 5 videos in a row, we might do it the exact same way. And maybe in one of those 5 videos, someone asked a question that made me go, there's another way to do this. So we decide on the next one, we'll use a different methodology. Now, if you think about it, our methodologies are not that different among things. There's certain things that are a standard. We always take readings. We always want to make sure that fermentation can be as close to complete as possible.
We always sanitize as much as possible.
Right. Sometimes the second edition can ferment. Sometimes we don't want it to. And in this case, I'm not worried if it does because I can always back sweeten it. So that's why we're not concerned. Plus, I don't know if freeze-dried fruit ferments or not. I guess we're going to find out.
One of the things that I found in researching adding freeze-dried fruit to brews is that typically, or more frequently, it's added to beer as a back sweetening agent, which seems really weird to me because I would never thought you would back sweeten.
You usually don't back sweeten beer,
Beer.
but I've seen people like flavor it afterwards.
Right. And so because freeze-dried has no liquid, you're not adding any.
You're not diluting.
Right. You're just adding.
But does it ferment? We're going to find out because we're going to add those
Mangosteens
right now. So what we have here is lighter than air mangosteens. 2 ounces
Heavenly
of each.
delicious.
And they're sealed for your protection. They look like marshmallows.
They're super cute.
They smell vaguely sweet, kind of like, smells like Rice Krispies.
So total sugars is 7 grams.
Per serving, and there's 5.7. Okay, time for you to use the calculator the teacher said I would never have handy. So it's 7 grams of sugar times 5.7 servings times 2 for a whopping 79.8 grams, which means 0.175 pounds times 0.046 for pounds per. So it should be 8 points of gravity. If it ferments 8 points of gravity, I don't even care. That's not even a concern. You probably don't want the silica packet to go into your brew. I'll tell you right now.
And by probably, we mean you don't. You just don't.
You never know. Somebody might.
No.
It's bad. Don't do it.
Don't say that.
I'm
That's
joking.
not even funny.
All right. Okay, I'm just going to dump these in. And there's some powder in here from them banging around. It's all going in.
Or in the air.
Some of it got in. Okay. Some of them stuck together. I'm tempted to try one. I'm going to try one. So we're getting 2 ounces minus 1.
Bite it in half, bite it in half, bite it in
I am.
half. Thank you.
Oh. Kind of tastes like sweet chalk. Yeah. It's got a kind of a citrusy berry thing going on. Yeah, not bad. Okay, I do want to try to get some of these under the liquid if possible.
Now, because these are freeze-dried, they are floating perfectly, which is something we don't want.
No, we actually want them to sink.
So we will probably have to monitor this and stir it and try to get them to absorb some of that moisture so that they sink.
I think they'll absorb and start to fall. But if we just keep an eye on it and kind of do this every day or twice a day, because if you don't, what can happen is they could mold. Now, because this might still be fermenting, we're in a little bit of a better situation than had this been completely done or we pasteurized it, because there is still some off-gassing happening. There's still some CO2, so that protects it a little bit. So I'm just going to put the lid back on. You know what they remind me of? You ever have just the marshmallows from Lucky Charms?
Oh, yeah, because they're kind of fruity.
That's what it kind of,
Yeah.
the texture and everything about them is almost that. So we're making Lucky Charms mead. The trick to putting an airlock into one of these plastic lids is leave the top off.
Particularly if you're using a 2-piece or 3-piece.
The 2-piece. Because it'll bubble over and then maybe suck back and it's just...
Makes a mess.
Yeah, you just don't need that. Nobody needs that in their life, you know? Make your life easier, not harder. All right, got my notes.
So how long do you think these should sit? We don't really know.
As long
because
as it
we've never
takes.
used freeze-dried fruit before.
Normally, I like to see 2 to 3 weeks extraction on fruit. It really depends on if they sink. So I will have to check this. And if they sink, then we'll just go with the standard 2 to 3 weeks. If they don't sink, it might be longer. And we might have to do an intermediary check to see if there's enough extraction of the fruit.
All right.
But if they do extract, I think it's actually going to make this really, really nice.
Yeah.
So we'll see you once that's all done. Back in a bit. Okay, it's 1 week in, and, well, John, the guy that sent us the freeze-dried fruit, is making me a little paranoid. He kept mentioning sludge. Now, I can imagine that those marshmallowy style mangosteens probably dissolved a little bit, but let's take a look and find out what we're really in for, because we haven't looked inside yet. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let us show you its features.
Now, John had said that they were likely to dissolve and form sludge. I'm not seeing that at all. They puffed up, they swelled up, they absorbed the liquid. It's like they're no longer freeze-dried anymore. I would like to get the spattle out, though, and poke at a couple and see what happens. Because just because they look solid doesn't mean they are. But they are.
They are. They totally are.
They're totally like regular fruit. This is fine. This really gives me hope for freeze-dried fruit.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of cool. I mean, they're much more spongy than a regular fruit, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Smells nice.
It does smell nice. It's like
Now this says lime and golden harvest honey. Yeah. Citrusy is from the lime, most likely.
Yeah.
All right, so it's good. When you put a 2-piece airlock on, you want to take the lid off before you do it. And if it doesn't snap, your seal's crap. That didn't snap hard.
No, it didn't.
It did snap. I'll go with it. I could pull it off and do it again just to make it snap, but I'm not gonna.
It's fine. You just want you just want your seal to be good enough that no bugs are going to come in there.
That's the real key to it.
So it's sealed good enough.
And this is going to sit for another week, probably. Maybe 2, but probably 1 should be enough. Usually 2 weeks on fruit is pretty solid. And then after that, we'll be back to show you. All right, so 2 weeks ago, we added some mangosteens to this. And today, we're checking on it. I know we checked on it once before, and we didn't do anything to it, right?
Yep.
It was just to make sure that the mangosteens didn't, like, explode or dissolve or anything.
They're still mangosteens.
They're still mangosteens. They look fine, John. Just saying. He thought they were going to completely dissolve and turn into like a mush.
Did we show them what they look like? We talked about it, but I don't know if we showed them. Let's show them.
So, not sure if we did this already, but they look like full fruit to me. They don't seem problematic in any way, shape, or form. So, we're moving forward. But they have been in there for 2 weeks, and that's the key. We like to sit fruit for about 2 weeks. Being that this was freeze-dried, I don't know, maybe it's quicker. I couldn't tell you.
We don't know. First time using it.
But if we go any longer than this, that's when we start to potentially have issues because we're still in a primary fermenter.
Oh, do you want to take a reading now? Or
We should take a reading first.
You're right.
That's a good idea. I wasn't going to do it, but
I was jumping the gun.
we were at 1.004 when last we checked. And I think the mangosteens did break up a little bit because there's some particles. There's some little floaties in there. And that's part of why we want to rack. Oh, wow, that smells amazing. You smell that? So it was at 1.004 last time. It actually did ferment some more. I know we've said we don't care if it does, and that's still the truth. So at this point, it went down to 0.998. And that's fine. That's fine, because we are going to rack it off the fruit today. Probably what happened is some of the sugars from the fruit got in there and started to ferment, and that's okay. I'm pouring my sample into the racking 2 vessel. That way I don't disturb any more lees than I have to in here. Though, in all honesty, there's probably a lot of sediment and a lot of stuff floating in suspension.
We're gonna have to rack this multiple times.
Oh yeah, this is gonna have to sit after today, and that's fine. So racking is just like always. I use an auto siphon. I have the cap on it. I'm gonna go about halfway down to about here. Get the siphon started. And we have the destination lower than the source so that it'll actually flow. And then as it goes down, I'm going to tip this so that we get the most flow to the side. And that's it. Yes, this has a spigot. I am well aware of that. I don't like using spigots. It's a thing. I'd much rather use an auto siphon. Also, habit. It's a thing. You know, it's just the way it is. I do things a certain way. And because of that, it's consistent and reliable. That is all I have to say about that. All right, we racked it. It's a reasonable amount, so I'm not too worried about headspace. The oxidation thing, let me just clarify something. A lot of people freak out, and I know we have put too fine of a point on it. When you have too much headspace after fermentation is done, you can get an oxidized flavor. Now, here's the thing. It's probably not going to sit like this for very long, and I'm betting if I just give this, you know what, let's turn it that way so you can see. If I just do this, yeah, there's still gases in here. And this is why I don't really worry about that. I wasn't oxidizing. I just gave it a little bit of a swirl to let some of those CO2 out. Oxygen is lighter, so it'll float to the top and the CO2 will push it out, thereby not causing a problem. In all the years that we've been doing this, hundreds and hundreds of brews, we have never once had a problem with oxidation from this stage. The only time we had a problem was when we had a bottle of mead that was half drank that sat on this shelf back here for like 6 or 8 months. Yeah. So, you know, some people say, oh, you have to drink an open bottle within a couple of days. Well, we've even done that for weeks. Yeah. And it's been fine. Yeah. In the fridge, we've had them for months and they've been okay. Yeah. There is some degradation, but it's not like an instantaneous goes bad overnight.
So because we still had the full mangosteens in there, Brian did go all the way down into the lees to try to get
I saw how little we were getting.
As much of the liquid as we possibly can. So at this point, we're going to let it naturally degas and naturally clear, and we'll be back once that's done.
I want to say one more thing, though. You could, if you wanted to, take those mangosteens that were in there, put them into like a brew bag or something and give it a squeeze. You might get a few more ounces out. Just be really careful because that is how you oxidize. By dripping that through the air and everything like that, that's when you could run into some problems. So that's why we don't really do that. The extra, ½ inch that we gain, to me, isn't really worth the trouble and the possibility of oxidation. I know, I just said we never have that problem, but it's because we don't do things like that.
But yeah.
But anyway, see you in a week. It's been 8 days. It's time to take a reading.
So you might see a little bit of floaties lining the top here. This might have been what John was alluding to.
I don't want to admit that he was right, though.
I'm going to say we were both right.
But it does just seem on the edge. Yeah, like it's not even on the middle. It's just the edges.
It's just a little bit.
Yeah, very little.
Just enough to be slightly annoying, but
enough that it goaded us into a conversation before we started this one. Let's put it that way. Yes. So what we decided we're probably going to do is not worry about that for now and see how much of it gets left behind in the racking process. And when we go to bottle, we'll use like a tea strainer in there or the rumble jar or something like that, so that we just leave all the little goop behind. It's fine. Last time it was at 0.998. Would stop hitting the side. I could tell you where it is today. I'm going to say it's 0.998. So that means this is now done.
So I am going to sanitize our favorite pitcher, and we're going to go ahead and rack this into the pitcher, and we'll be right back.
So now it's time to taste this. See if we got to do anything to it. There's goop in it. I know. But when we pasteurize this after sweetening, which we're probably going to end up doing, hopefully a lot of that stuff will fall out. Like I said, if it doesn't, we will just bottle it slightly differently. But, oh yeah, this is chunky. I don't think I'm going to enjoy this particular tasting.
We can pour this through a strainer if you want to, just for tasting.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pour through the tea strainer.
Yeah.
But go ahead and do what you got to do.
It's kind of potent on the aroma.
All right.
This may or may not work. Because
it's going to work.
That tea strainer is larger than our glass. You may want to avert your eyes. Or not.
Almost like I've done that before.
Now we have a
look, new stuff.
Glass.
Ooh, I definitely smelled a little bit of lime in there.
Yeah.
It's something from the mangosteens too.
It's kind of
got a little funk to it.
It's
But it's not like sour funk. It's more like fruit funk.
It reminds me of turpentine.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not getting turpentine.
You're not getting that?
Nope.
All right.
Actually smells sort of pleasant.
I feel like the lime was too much.
It's the zest of one lime.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think right now it's very dry, and that's probably what you're getting.
Yeah. Let's get some honey in there.
Yeah, and we may have to figure out a better way to do this because I don't think I could pour through this into the glass too.
No.
Okay. But let me add some honey. And we're going to use the same honey that we used to make it, which is the Golden Harvest honey from North Mountain Supply. I think this needs to be significantly sweet because the lime note is prominent, and we want that to blend a little better. Needs to blend.
Oh, we need the spattle.
Yes, we do. For the mixing, I will require the spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. Get yours in the description below. We haven't done that in forever.
Speaking of magic
I hope we didn't screw it up.
We have a plethora of these kind of tea strainers. And Ryan remembered that we have this tapered one that if you look,
It's like perfect.
perfectly in that glass. So
I never have to drink goop in my meads again.
that will make Brian oh so happy.
Okay, now, one thing I want to point out. Some people have been asking, can they use one of these to pour out and get lees and everything out? No, the lees will still go through. Just larger chunks probably won't.
But now that we measured it, I need to sanitize it.
Well, we're just going to drink whatever it touches. Why, was it gross?
No,
Oh, then you didn't really need to sanitize it.
I like to be
It's a habit.
consistent. Consistency will set you free.
That's what they say.
And by they, he means me.
But chaos is the only constant.
All right. There's a little Jeff Goldblum in you and a little, I don't know who does the consistency thing. There's a lot of people who do the consistency thing. I don't know.
The fact that you can't remember them is very telling.
Because my memory, or lack thereof, is consistent.
Or is it inconsistent?
I consistently don't remember.
That would be chaos. Still going with chaos. Still goes to my favorite t-shirt that I have that I almost don't wear on the show anymore because it's D&D related. Chaotic neutral. I like to keep all my options on the table. Now, when you do it this way, as we always do, we just add some honey until it's sweet enough, and we're going to taste it in between. But when you do this, you want to make sure that you mix it thoroughly, because if you don't, you're not getting a true representation of what it is, and all that honey sitting at the bottom is not going to mix in.
Using a semi-translucent vessel such as our pitcher, we can see if there's any honey goop at the bottom.
Okay, we're good. Oh, look at this. That's awesome.
It's the simple things, ladies and gentlemen.
Sometimes. Oh, it worked beautifully. Now, before anybody freaks out and says that this is going to change the taste of it, it's made for tea, so I don't think it's going to change the flavors of anything. I think they're gold, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I'm getting the honey notes coming forward already on the aroma, which is making me a lot happier.
Okay. It even has a little bit of a green note to it, like it's a yellowy green. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the honey's definitely more forward now.
That improved it drastically.
Mm-hmm. Do you want any more?
I don't know. I think I'm getting a good amount of honey, both in the sensation and in the sweetness level. I'm definitely getting the acid punch from the lime. And I'm getting that unique fruit flavor of the mangosteen.
Yeah, it tastes kind of tropical, citrusy. Yeah. I think this is nice. Look at that. Nailed it. First try. So what we want to do now, though,
is take a gravity reading so we can tell you what specific gravity of sweetness level we got our brew to.
Right. Which means no matter what volume you have, if you wanted to simulate what we did, you could sweeten to this same level. Because if I tell you a pound or half pound, that's only dependent on what your final batch volume is. And a few ounces can make a big difference when it comes down to this.
Yeah, our racking, I think we're around the 112 ounces. So we were under a full U.S. gallon.
So we sweetened it to 1.022. Wow, that was a lot of honey then. I didn't realize how much honey I put in, I guess. Now, something absolutely crucial, monumentally important.
We added a fermentable sugar to this, and we're happy with the flavor. So we want to stabilize this in some fashion so that way no more fermentation will occur, which would ruin our perfect sweetness.
Right. That, and if you don't stabilize it in some way, it's going to keep fermenting, and if you put it in a sealed bottle, it's going to explode. No word to lie, it's gonna blow up, okay? So please don't do that.
So we're going to rack this to a wide mouth 1 gallon fermentation vessel, put the lid and the airlock on, and then we're going to pasteurize it, which is our stabilization method of choice. We have full videos on our pasteurization method. Make sure to link it in the description below.
Basic gist, get the interior temperature to 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 22 minutes. Done. There's more to it than that, so you gotta watch the other video. All right, we made it. It's been pasteurized. Now it's ready to taste. Find out how good it is or how bad it is. Hey, you know, you can't say it's gonna automatically be good.
Now, a good amount of things have fallen out due to pasteurization, which is typical. And we will let this continue to sit probably a month, maybe less because of the move.
No, I think this one's gonna get transported as is,
Okay.
and we'll let it sit for a while.
And then we're going to bottle it later to give it more time to continue to clear out.
Yep. It is actually nice and clear at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got that, like,
Slight haze.
you know, the car colors that almost change.
Interference.
Yeah.
Interference paint.
It's got that kind of greenish
The yellow green.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a very slight haze though. I'd say, I mean, you can see right through it.
Oh, yeah.
But when you hold it up to the light, you can definitely see that there's haze.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
not perfectly clear.
minuscule particulates that are
But I wouldn't care.
refracting the light.
I wouldn't care. I don't feel a need to make this any clearer than it is.
You definitely get that
lime.
lime on the aroma.
Well, mangosteen themselves are citrusy too.
Right. And because we're not totally familiar
So we made it citrusy plus.
with mangosteen, we're reading lime because we're familiar with lime, but it's probably the mangosteen lime combo, which
Yeah. Which is actually quite nice so far.
yeah. This,
I'm not a huge lime
this
fan,
seems like
but
a,
this is okay.
a fresh tropical
Yeah.
beverage on the aroma.
And where did we ever figure out? I never used a calculator teacher said I wouldn't have handy
What?
to calculate the ABV.
Who are you?
Let's see. This started at 1.090. It ended at 0.998. Okay, minus 0.998. We used up 92 points of gravity times 131.25. Gives us 12.07. However, we did add about a half pound of honey, which is going to dilute it a little bit. So let's just call this 11.5.
It's in the 11.5, 12-ish range.
It's more like 11 to 11.5-ish, but yeah,
Fine.
whatever.
Fine.
Whatever. It's in the normal range for wines and meads, for preservation and storage, and where we like them to be.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah, clink clink. Oh, that's pretty nice. It's got a good acidity to it. At first, I thought it was a little flat on the acidity,
Nope.
but as you sip it a little bit, the lime starts to come through. Got a nice touch.
Yeah.
There's a sweet back note in there that I'm attributing to the mangosteen.
And to the honey.
That's true. I keep forgetting it. Mead.
It doesn't have the viscosity of some of our meads, but
It's not as thick. No.
because of the bright acid punch, I don't feel like it needs that.
No.
I feel like it would be weird to be thick and
Yeah.
bright at the same time.
I'd call it on the low side for tannins, which is probably why it doesn't feel as thick too. It's not super sweet at 1.022 to have more viscosity from the honey. Tannins would make that up. And because it's not high tannin, that's not there. But I think the acidity makes up for both sides and actually rounds it out. It's actually quite balanced.
I still feel like it reads as a mead rather than just a
yeah.
wine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I was getting at the balance aspect.
Yeah.
It may be even slightly off balance towards the lime.
Yeah. And it was weird because we just used some zest, didn't we?
Yeah, it was zest of 1 lime. That's it.
It
That's all it's in here.
Potent.
That just shows you how powerful citrus zest can be. I'm not hating it.
No.
Especially being, I'm not a fan of lime, like I said. The fact that I can appreciate this is interesting.
Yeah.
It does have, there's a slight bitterness from the lime to me towards the end.
Which is probably accentuated by the bitterness that sometimes happens
Yeah.
in fermented honey.
So that makes this a little less than my favorite thing, but it's not bad.
It's reminding me of a pineapple drink. It's not really having the pineapple flavor,
I
but
see what you
that
mean.
weird.
Almost a pucker. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
That's,
I'm a fan of. So
there's acids in pineapple.
yeah. Yeah.
And that might be what
I wonder.
the similarity. I
there's-
wonder if the mangosteens have the same kind of thing.
I don't know.
It's possible they're a tropical thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we got to put a number on this.
I'm gonna put my number hat on.
At this point, you should be seeing our scoring system on the screen. It goes 1 through 10, with the occasional 11 being those things that are just, unbelievable. Do you have a number?
I think so.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 6.5.
6.5.
Wow. That is the second time today that we gave the exact same score on 2 different things. That's interesting. This is good, but it's not great.
It needs something, but not something definitive enough that I can say what that something is.
Needs to be orange or lemon, not lime. That's my issue.
Actually, it might even need to be pineapple.
Yeah. Pineapple
I think
mangosteen might work
pineapple
really
mangosteen
nice.
Might be
And hey, this is our first time working
live
with
and
it.
learn.
Experiment.
We had never consumed mangosteen before.
And even when we tasted it, we thought that lime would work well with it. I don't think the lime doesn't work with it. I
No.
just think it overpowered it.
Yeah,
The lime took over.
and the mangosteen itself might have had a
might be
limey,
delicate.
citrusy
Yeah.
aspect to it that really made the lime seem extra limey. I don't know.
And since I'm anti-limey, it took it down for me. Which is
Now-
interesting because I'm actually English.
Even this as it is, because it has all those great punchy flavors going on, I could really see this utilized again in cocktails. I know, I'm sorry, you're probably so tired. Derek and her stupid cocktails.
Most meads actually work really well in cocktails.
But this would be lovely in so many things. I could see, shocker, adding Cointreau to this and being very happy.
You wanna?
No, it's okay.
You sure?
I might do it later.
Well, later it won't be on camera.
Do you want to see? Okay, whatever.
They can't answer you right now.
For the people. I'm going to pretend like you said yes.
All right.
I'm pretending right now that you're like, do the Cointreau, Derica, do it for us.
You gotta grab the Cointreau.
Yeah. Now, I know Cointreau does not taste remotely like pineapple,
Nope.
but it does have some orangeness to it.
I didn't add much.
I don't think that much is needed.
Interestingly enough, that would actually be fortifying this as well.
It smells kind of like a fuzzy navel. Just smell it now. I haven't drank it yet.
Oh, wow, you're not kidding. A little bit. There's more orange than peach, though.
But
Fuzzy navel is peach and orange.
God.
What's the saying? Cointreau fixes everything?
Yeah, I still had it in my mouth. The saying is, Cointreau fixes everything.
Or as it makes everything better. I forget. You'd have to watch our Cointreau video in the tasting room.
That's nice, yeah?
It does improve it. It's funny. It took the lime right down.
Yep.
Knocked that flavor just right down. Now it's orangey. Now I like this much better.
Yeah. So make this, mix it with Cointreau,
Yeah.
and
It's amazing.
Share it with your friends, because that's fantastic.
The lime went from like a 12 to like a 4.
Yeah.
Just dropped it right down. If it tasted like this before, instead of being a 6.5, I might have been like a 7.5.
I would have been a 9.
Yeah. See, it's still not my thing. And I think that's an important key aspect to understand about homebrewing. You will not love every single thing you make. You will not love every flavor combination, and that's okay. Because in homebrewing, not just mead making, mead has this wide range of what you can make. But then add in homemade wines and fruit wines, you just doubled, tripled that size. Then add in ciders, hydromels, beers. Oh my God, you have literally unlimited possibilities for flavor combinations and things like that. Don't say, oh, well, I don't like that, so I don't like mead. No, that's so totally not true. There's so many different kinds of mead.
You're
So many
limiting yourself if you
Yeah.
have that narrow of a mindset.
I have heard many people say that too. I tried a mead once and didn't like it, so I won't ever make mead.
I'm so sorry for
Wow, what mead did you even have to make that determination? Because if this was the kind of mead you had, if you don't like lime, you may never want to try it again because you might think that that's all mead is. No, there's so much variation. Experiment, play, work with flavors you know you like though. We're starting to really mess around with stuff that we've never tried before because, we've done all the stuff that we like.
because of John.
But yeah, John, it's John's fault. We're also trying to find new things that we might like that other people might like too. But there are certain things we'll never brew with, like grapefruit. I'm not going to do it.
Or licorice.
Or licorice, right. We're just not, anise, we're just not going to do it. We might use it as an addition in certain things.
Anise,
but
not a straight
but not as a
up
main flavoring.
100% anise.
And durian, sorry, I'm not fermenting durian. I just don't feel the need to. I've smelled it enough. No, not my thing. But anyway, make this. If you like lime and you like playing with exotic flavors, make this and then make it your own. Use whatever flavoring you think might make it to your taste. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.